Good evening and thanks for joining us. It's been a hot button issue since April, and now good news is coming out of today's announcement by Premier Kathleen Wynne. The future of the Experimental Lakes area will no longer be up for discussion. The money the facility was hoping to receive was handed over today. Courtney Rutherford has details.
It's an area that's unique and significant to the Northwest, providing science and research opportunities for people not only living in the region, but across the world. After federal funding was cut this year, the future of the facility was left in the hands of the government. However, the province has committed up to $2 million in the final hours to keep the Experimental Lakes area open.
We've made a commitment to provide up to $2 million on an annual basis. So there's no end point. This is about setting up the Experimental Lakes area so that it can be in operation for a long period of time. A sustainable funding commitment by the province. So the agreement that was signed before September the 1st between the province and the IISD and the federal government certainly locks that in place.
As for the details related to the long-term agreement, there is still some work to be done. Ruth and Tom Cook run the Thunder Bay Council of Canadians chapter. The past months they have been advocating to have the research facility kept open, and they are ecstatic about today's announcement.
Well, our initial thoughts is that this is wonderful news. We're really pleased and very grateful to the province of Ontario and also the province of Manitoba, who's participated in all of this, and the International Institute for Studies for Sustainable Development, who have agreed to be the operator of the facility. So we're really just grateful that they've all signed this agreement.
It means that a world-class organization is still up and working. They've been there for 40 years, and they've done magnificent things for our country and for the world, for that matter. And they're going to continue to do those kinds of things.
The province said the agreement with the International Institute for Sustainable Development is in fact a temporary one until a long-term deal is negotiated. The money will keep the facility operating through till March 31st, 2014. Courtney Rutherford, TPT News.
Well, Thunder Bay police are investigating a report of a male going through vehicles armed with a firearm. Officers received a call from a resident in the 1300 block of Tarbert Street around 5:50 this morning after he saw a man robbing his vehicle. The resident attempted to approach the male and was confronted by the male pointing a rifle at him. The suspect ordered the resident to get back into his house. He later fled on foot towards the Francis Street area. The male suspect is described as a native Canadian in his 20s, wearing a light blue hoodie. Police are reminding public to protect themselves from potentially dangerous situations. Anyone who may know the identity of the man is asked to contact Thunder Bay Police. Thunder Bay Fire and Rescue were called to the Shoreline Hotel on Cumberland Street today with reports of heavy smoke on the 5th floor. Crews had the fire under control quickly. The majority of the damage was confined to one hotel room where the fire originally began. Fire personnel evacuated the 4th and 5th floors and confirmed that all occupants were safe. The fire and its cause are now under investigation by Thunder Bay Fire and Rescue. The City of Thunder Bay is extending its rebate program for installing flood prevention measures and draining improvements. Homeowners who want to take advantage of the residential draining rebate program now have until November 31st to submit their applications for improvements completed since January 2013. Draining rebate coordinator Jamie Saunders with Eco Superior says about 200 applications have been approved to date, with the average rebate being around $1,200. Homeowners can get money back for improvements to sub pumps, dry wells, and backwater valves.
Currently in different areas around Thunder Bay, household drainage, so the water that collects from your yard actually drains into the city sewer system. We want to prevent as much water as we can from going to the city wastewater treatment plant, because this is cleaner water. It's typically groundwater and water from your yard, so it doesn't need the same level of treatment as sewer water in your house.
Application forms are available at Eco Superior and the city's Building Services Division office at Victoriaville. Forms can be sent to Eco Superior with a copy of associated receipts, plumbing permits, and inspection reports. Federal Liberal leader Justin Trudeau recently admitted he smoked pot since being an elected MP. Now the talk has merged into a bigger discussion, and other politicians are being asked the same question. As Courtney Rutherford reports, 2 local MPs are weighing in as well.
It's not a surprise that after Liberal leader Justin Trudeau's interview last week, where he admitted to smoking marijuana, that Canadians are beginning to learn a little more about the drug habits of local politicians. Thunder Bay Rainy River NDP MP John Rafferty says that Trudeau's revelation that he used pot 5 or 6 times was a good excuse to spark the debate about the country's marijuana laws.
My own opinion has always been that it should be decriminalized. I don't think people should be in jail. I think there are alternatives. We continue to look at that in the NDP. I'm not sure, but personally, I'm not sure about legalization. I think, it comes down to economics. Is there a cost benefit to doing that? I mean, that's one thing to look at.
When asked, Rafferty said he doesn't smoke marijuana, but added he did grow up in the 60s and 70s. Meanwhile, MP Bruce Hire would like to see Canada reverse its marijuana laws. The independent MP said it's time to take a drastic step and legalize it for recreational use.
But it's really time that we stop criminalizing our children and good citizens in our society or force them to be dishonest. A huge percentage of Canadians smoke marijuana or take it in brownies or something occasionally, and it's time to move on. Making Hells Angels and other drug dealers rich is a very silly thing to do. It's time to legalize it, regulate it, tax it.
Hire admits he has smoked marijuana many decades ago and adds that he thinks it's great that Trudeau was honest and that he showed some real leadership on the issue of pot. Courtney Rutherford, TBT News.
Well, a picnic was held today behind the Labour Centre off Fort William Road to celebrate unions and labourers working together. A couple hundred people came down to take part in the event. It wasn't only open to unionized workers, but open to the community as well. Sandra Snyder is the chair of the picnic committee with the District Labour Council. She says the gathering is a chance to remind people that there are still unionized workers everywhere. It's a chance to showcase some of the work they do for people.
They are working at all sorts. A lot of charities in this community are dependent on our members, whether it's the United Way, the Shelter House, the Food Bank, under the Undercover Project. The union, those are union members that are organizing a lot of that stuff and working on it.
Organizers called this year's picnic a great success. Well, it's a trade where you typically won't find many female workers, but for one local woman, being an iron worker is exactly what she wants for a career. At the job site, Kaylee Wiltsey is just another one of the guys, and her co-workers agree it would be nice to see more iron ladies on the job site. Nate Jones has more.
There's about 40 men on this job site and one woman. In fact, Kaylee Wiltsey is the only female member of Ironworkers Union Local 759. That's 1 out of 359. That ratio doesn't faze her one bit. She gets to do what she loves while taking home a good paycheck. And to have this outside office with a view, it's not surprising it's where she wants to be. Wiltsey is a first-year apprentice who was hired on as a welder, and this is her third job site. She says sometimes other employees on the site are unsure of her abilities at first.
At first, when I first get on a job site, guys are a little weary. They don't know how to act around me, but I usually try and make it comfortable for them because this is their area. I push myself, I try as hard as I can, but I haven't found anything that I can't do yet, no. She
was recently assigned to the Health Services building on Oliver Road, which will also house the new cyclotron and radio pharmacy. She spends most of her days at the top of the structure. And after a long day of working with iron, she can still find time to ditch the jeans, t-shirt, and hard hat.
I still get dressed up. I'll wear a dress and high heels on the weekend if I want to, but I like being a tomboy. I've been a tomboy my whole life, so.
Dress and high heels aside, union officials say they've heard nothing but good things about Wiltsey. And her co-workers say having her around is good for the industry.
It's nice to see guys and girls both in the trade, regardless of what your sexuality is, what your whatever, it's nice to have them here. She's very calm, very cool. She doesn't make it stressful on the job. She asks a lot of good questions. She helps me, I help her. It goes both ways.
Union officials say this isn't the first time a woman has gone through the local, and it certainly won't be the last. As long as they have the drive and ambition to put into the job, they'll have a future working with iron. Nate Jones, TBT News.